Good afternoon and welcome to a late edition of the Big Show. The Big Show comes to you usually every day at like 5 o'clock, but today we are actually in a place where we got a little bit hung up, and of course, sometimes that means trying to find a place to go in order to be able to get it done, and we are going to get it done for sure. Anyway, we obviously the Big Show brought to you by Archie's on Carson Street. Get down to Archie's. Archie's, home of 80-cent wings, Monday through Thursday. 80-cent wings, and of course, home of the Paul Zeise grilled cheese sandwich. And of course, I think that is obviously a big incentive for you to get down to Archie's. And the other part of it is we are here going to be doing a Friday show tomorrow. So usually we don't do a Friday show, but today we're going to do. But tomorrow, we're going to do a Friday show. So lots to get to, of course, lots of different things to do, and of course, lots of different things to talk to. But again, we are happy that you're here and happy that you are tuning in every day, and hopefully we entertain you and everything else. Now, there is basically a rumor out here that the Steelers might be interested in trading for Tyreek Hill. Now, I will tell you, I think that it's kind of silly. Number one, I just feel like Tyreek Hill, as good as he is, as fast as he is, as game-breaking as he is, I don't know that you really need Tyreek Hill anymore. I think he's the kind of guy, and there's another domestic violence thing that's been levied against him. He's a guy that's probably a bit of a headache, to be honest. And so to me, I feel like it's one of those things where you look at it and basically say, is he worth the trouble that he is going to bring? And I tell you, I just don't think he is. I really don't. I think that really, if you look at him from the standpoint of the fact that he is a guy who probably once was worth the trouble, which is why he got so many different opportunities. He was probably worth it once, but he's not worth it anymore. He really isn't. And I think that's the thing that comes back to me. This is a guy now who probably, he's probably in a position where he's still really, really good. I just don't think he's going to be somebody who moves the dial for you. And probably whatever happens, probably if you think about it from this standpoint, he's a guy who I think will probably, wherever he goes, I can't imagine he's not going to be a clubhouse cancer and everything else. So I really believe that, when we're in a situation where we hear these rumors, I always try and run them past sort of my BS detector. And this one, I will tell you, I'm not sure I love, because I think this one is one that I am not sure would make the Steelers better. I think there's a couple of things that probably are at play here too as well. Number one. I don't know that Tyreek Hill would like to be the number 2 receiver, but I do think that if you look at it, you have DK Metcalf, he's probably going to be your number 1 receiver. So you're going to bring Tyreek Hill in, and are you going to, have to deal with whatever the fallout is if he doesn't want to be the number 2 guy? If he still thinks he's the number 1 guy, then what? You bring him in, I'll be honest with you. I think you bring him in, I think he makes your locker room worse. And so to me, it feels a lot like it probably is not that, you get a good player, but at what cost? At what cost? That's what I would ask you. At what cost? Because I don't think that you want to bring him in, okay? I don't think you want to bring him in, and he ends up, just sort of being a pain in the neck. And then what? At that point, I don't know. Do you really want that to happen? I think DK Metcalf is clearly your guy. And I think Tyreek Hill at one point was a great, great player. But I don't think right now he's worth the trouble. In fact, I would be concerned if you brought him in of him getting in trouble again. I would be concerned about that. So to me, I look at the whole situation and I say I don't necessarily believe that it's in their best interest to bring him in. I don't like it, actually. And I know that they're looking for a wide receiver too and everything else. But the reality is it still has to be somebody that fits. Somebody that fits what they're looking for. And I would say that's the key to me. What are they looking for? And I think that it is somebody who's going to fit into the locker room, who's going to accept maybe a role as like the second receiver, if that's the case, right? And also is not going to become a pain in the neck from the standpoint of getting into trouble and all the other stuff. I just don't see how adding Tyreek Hill at this point makes the Steelers a better team. And I think that's the thing where I would tell you, it really is kind of frustrating when people bring up these names, especially these national media guys, because their shtick is very simple. They really truly believe, okay? They really truly believe that Mike Tomlin can sort of rehab everybody. And that's just not the case. Not the case at all. And I think when you bring a guy like him in, you risk in so many ways losing the rest of your locker room, and I just don't know that it's worth that. They've talked about wanting a second receiver, but now they seemingly are probably happy with Calvin Austin for at least a little bit. I don't know. I just think when you look at him and you look at what they're doing, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to bring a guy like that into a locker room that feels like it's pretty good. And you've got guys like, you've got guys like DK Metcalf are already here. And they're already here and they're already, sort of fitting into whatever is happening. And I don't know, is Tyreek Hill going to accept, hey, you're not the main guy? You're a second guy. You're not the main guy. I don't know. I wish I knew, but I don't. And so I feel like, it's really important now to remember that. Because it feels like to me, when you just start throwing names out there, there are a lot of people who don't seem to want to acknowledge, okay, that, hey, there are, chemistry considerations. There are considerations of how does he get along with the quarterback. I think that's important, right? I think there's a lot of things that are important when it comes to this stuff. And to me, you bring in a guy like that who upsets the apple cart, I just don't know that I think it doesn't really work for me in so many ways. So I am really in a sort of a place where I understand why so many people want Tyreek Hill. I understand why the Steelers are sort of a natural fit for him. I just don't think that it's a good place for him to go, because I think he makes the Steelers worse, not better. And that's important to me. I also think that if you've got a team of close-knit guys who are, in a much better place, to me, I don't know, why do you want to upset that? So I feel like it is really important. It's really important in my mind, I think at least, for the Steelers, if they're going to add someone, that it's the right guy. That's my take on that whole Tyreek Hill thing. By the way, Game Time app, you're going to download the Game Time app if you need last-minute tickets. If you need tickets of any kind, ticket purchases for sporting events, for all kinds of other things, whatever you need tickets for, there's venues everywhere. You are going to want to go and download the Game Time app, because the Game Time app is the best from a price standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, from a user-friendly standpoint. Game Time, GAMETIME, download the app, and then you can buy tickets to whatever you need to buy tickets to. I think that's the thing about it, is they have so many different ways to make the purchasing of tickets a much better process. One of my favorites is that fees are included. Now listen to that. When you turn on when you go to the app, the price that you see on the app is going to be the price that you pay for the ticket. There's not, you click on a button, you go to checkout, and then there's a bunch of fees, and so a $50 ticket all of a sudden is an $85 ticket. Ain't like that. Game Time, if you go to Game Time and download the app, Game Time has all of the prices that you will pay. So you will know exactly what you're paying for your tickets. I think the other thing, there are two other things that I like. Number one, you can set your Game Time app to your favorites. So anytime a ticket becomes available for whatever one of your favorites is, whether it's sports teams, whether it's venues, whether it's concerts, whatever, you're the first to know about it. And you're going to get good deals as well. The other thing is, say you want to buy tickets, but you don't want to sit there and pick out the exact tickets, but you kind of know the section or two. You can put the 2 sections in, or 3 sections, or whatever. Game Time will get you a ticket within those sections, and you save a little bit of money that way. The other thing is a ticket guaranteed lowest price. So in other words, if you get a ticket and then you see it somewhere else for a lower price, Game Time will credit you 110% of whatever the difference in price is. So go to Game Time, download it, and guess what? You get $20 off your first purchase if you use the promo code PG Sports. So $20 off your first purchase. No hidden fees, because the fees are all built right into the price, right? And the ability to favorite whatever you want. So go to Game Time app. Go to the Game Time app, download it, sign up, use the promo code PG Sports, and when you do, you will be able to get $20 off your first purchase. The Tyreek Hill story is something that was thrown around a lot today, and I get it. I understand why. There's been a number of different ways that you sort of want to connect the dots with the Steelers to every receiver that might help them. But I just says it is just going to be one of those things where they need to pass. They need to take a pass, period. Because if they don't, I just don't think it's going to be really a guy who adds to whatever it is they're trying to do. Now, yesterday, we talked about the Steelers' run game. Terrell Austin was there today. The coordinators speak to the media on Wednesdays. I think a couple things. Number one, Terrell Austin shouldn't have to answer for whatever it is that's going on with the Steelers defense, because again, it's Mike Tomlin's defense. Period. And if there's anything going on that isn't working, I mean, what are we talking about here? To me, it's just one of those things where, people are asking him questions and he's giving answers, but it's the same answers. It does. It's sort of the same answers, which are, we didn't fit right. We didn't communicate well. We missed some assignments. Okay, good. But as a defense, you've given up 28 points a game essentially for the last 7 games, I think it is, going back to last year. So at some point, don't you have to figure out what else you need to do to make your team better? At some point, at least, right? Don't you have to figure this out? But again, I don't hold Teryl Austin accountable. I mean, there's all kinds of, accounts online that are like, oh, well, it's one of those things. It's one of those things where, fire Teryl Austin. I look at Teryl Austin and I say this. He's a guy, okay? He's a guy who isn't really calling the defense. So if you're upset with the defense, you got to be upset with Mike Tomlin. You got to be upset with him, not Teryl Austin. I've said it many times. I guess I'll say it one more time for the cheap seats, okay? They have changed coordinators multiple times. They have changed general managers, right? They have changed quarterbacks. They've changed assistant coaches. They've changed, personnel. They've turned over their roster almost completely over these last 8 years. And yet, they still haven't won a playoff game. And we're still talking about some of the same issues that have plagued them forever. And the only reason I bring that up is because, at some point, what is the one constant that they have? What is the one thing that hasn't changed? What is the one thing that has been the same for the last, 20 years, much less the last 7, 8, 9 years? What is the one thing that has been the same? Well, I'll tell you, the head coach. So if you're one of these people that thinks that, Teryl Austin is the one who should be fired, he's the one that should be held accountable, I got bad news for you. I think you're wrong. I really do. I think you're 100% wrong, actually. Couldn't be more wrong. Because to me, it's just going to be really important to remember that. That, hey, at the end of the day, we can change everything and everything else, and we can change personnel, and we can change this, and we can change that. But at the end of the day, the head coach is still the same. Period. And maybe some of you are okay with that, and maybe it'll turn out that that's the right way to go. But I just don't think. I don't know. It just is one of those things where I just don't think most people really fully understand that when they talk about firing assistant coaches and moving on from this guy, moving on from that guy. It doesn't add up for me. Because at the end of the day, I think it's one of those things where people don't want to blame. Well, some people want to blame Tomlin, but most people don't want to blame Tomlin. They want to blame other people. They want to blame everybody else. And again, in my mind, the buck stops here. The buck stops with Tomlin. I just think it's one of those things where, some people aren't giving enough credit to the fact that Mike Tomlin is fully in charge of everything that goes on. It really is, And I think that's where we probably differ. Honestly, that's where we probably differ. Because I think that, honestly, when you look at Mike Tomlin, he's a guy who probably should have been replaced a long time ago. That's just me. Some people don't agree. I think that really, if you're going to be honest with yourself, you have to look at it and say, it's one of these situations where he's gotten a pass for a long, long time. He's gotten a pass. And since he's gotten a pass, he hasn't really had to push. He really hasn't had to push, and really go out of his way to try and stretch to win, because he's never been in jeopardy of losing his job. Ever. And since he's never really been in jeopardy of losing his job, I just think that really the situation to me is basically very, very simple. He's got to get it right. Seriously, he's got to get it right. And, we can sit here and talk about everybody else being the problem, but I'll say it again. There's been one constant with this team, and it's been Mike Tomlin. And if he doesn't figure this thing out with the defense, regardless of what Terrell, Austin says or does or whatever, if he doesn't figure it out with the defense, I'm not sure how we can continue to move, go forward with the idea that he is the guy for the job. Because I just don't think that's the case. Maybe he's the guy for the job, but he's got to prove it, doesn't he? And I don't know that he has in the last 7, 8, 9 years. And I'll tell you the other thing I think that is really important. I think it's really important to note that he's a guy that probably doesn't absolutely 100% believe that, it's a problem that he hasn't won playoff games. The other thing is, I don't know that we have seen any real examples of guys who, won early in their career, then lost it for a while, then with the same team after losing it for a while, coming back and figuring it out. I mean, I guess we could sit here and talk about Bill Cowher in some ways because he had a couple of down years, but that was mostly quarterback driven. And, that for a couple of years, they had some really bad quarterbacks, period. And if you have bad quarterbacks, guess what? You're just not going to win, period. Are you having trouble finding the right people to hire? Tired of sorting through endless resumes? The future of hiring looks much brighter because ZipRecruiter's latest tools and features help speed up finding the right people for your roles. So you save valuable time, and now you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/audio. With ZipRecruiter's new advances, you can easily find and connect with qualified candidates in minutes. See a candidate you're really interested in. You can unlock their contact info instantly, ZipRecruiter, and save time hiring. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. If you go to ZipRecruiter.com/audio right now, you can try it for free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. I think one of those things that if you look at the way that we go about doing things with respect to coaches, Mike Tomlin is like the Teflon Don of Teflon Dons. I mean, this is a guy who never seems to have to answer for a team that doesn't win nearly enough in the playoffs anymore. But nevertheless, they still win enough where they are able to go out. They still win enough where they're able to get to the playoffs, and that's quite enough, apparently, for the Roonies, which is amazing to me. It really is. Yesterday, the Pirates, switching gears, and by the way, the game's always on at Archie's. Get down to Archie's. Archie's, home of 80-cent wings, Monday through Thursday. Home of the Paul Zeise grilled cheese sandwich. So get down to Archie's and enjoy a good meal and have a good time. When you get there, say hello to Archie. Yesterday was a significant day for the Pirates. They lost. I think it was extra innings, maybe 2-1. Was it extra innings they lost? I think they did. 2-1 to Baltimore, who's not a very good team, but that's not really here nor there. What's important is it was their, are you ready? 82nd loss of the season. Now, we can do better. They've lost 6 in a row, by the way. They've now lost 82 games. Now, I'm not the smartest, right? Not the smartest, but I can do math. And if you play 162 games and you lose 82 of them, you are going to have a losing record. And I think that's where, this team right now, we look at the standings, and we've talked about how they're 24, 25 games out of first place or whatever they are, right? 25 games out of first place, but they're back to 19 games under. I'm sorry, they have 83 losses now. So actually 2 days ago is when they got to 82. Or yesterday they got to, or 2 days ago they got to 82. Yesterday they got to 83. And they're 19 games under. But here's the other thing. 64 and 83. If they go 16-0, I suppose. No, they'd have to, if they go 15-0 now, the most they can win is 79 games. And that's what we should start to look at. Because the last few years, they've won 76. But now, it looks like they're going to win less than that. How is that possible in year 6? In year 6! That's what I would like to know. Obviously, Ben Cherington has a lot of explaining to do. But to me, I look at that and I say that, now that they have a lost season again, okay, well, guess what? There's no reason at all, none, to keep Ben Cherington around. I think that is going to be important. Like, now that they're gone. And I think that's going to be important now to remember that, right? And I think that's where we're at. They've lost. And if my math is correct, since 1982, actually, we can go to, 92. We can go to 1990. Since 1990, they've had, so that's 35 seasons. Since 1990, they've had 7 winning seasons. The 3, 90, 91, and 92, 2013, 15, or 2013, 14, and 15, and then what was it, 17 or 18, where they won more than they lost, but they didn't make the playoffs. That's it. 28 losing seasons in 35 years. If you take away the 3, if you want to go where most people go, which is after the 92 season, when they blew that team up, I mean, we're talking about so we're talking about 32 years, 4 winning seasons. That's it. And here's another one. And so now it's important for them to figure it out. period. It's now important for them to try and figure it out for next year because they've had too many losing seasons in a row. Like I said, we are going to do a bonus video tomorrow night at 5. And then, of course, Sunday after the game, Adam Bittner and I will give you all the post-game thoughts that we can. You can also catch me in pregame. You can go on Twitter and find me on pregame doing a pregame show as well for every Steeler game. Until then, enjoy.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.